Hello and welcome to the Raptors Weekly podcast for the week of August 29th. I'm your fill-in host, William Liu. Blake and Zarar are busy. I think Zarar's at a cottage somewhere, so enjoy that, Zarar. Enjoy that off season. Blake, who knows what Blake is up to, really? Blake is a man of mystery and finely groomed beard. Um, So, without those two on the podcast, I invited my buddy Harsh, who is a bitter enemy of Raptors Public since he writes at Raptors HQ. But yeah, man, Harsh, you're the only guy who's available right now.
Yeah, I've been the last second guest twice now in the past like 3 weeks. I'm starting to judge myself for it actually, not you guys.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you, man. You're like the Corey Joseph of the podcast. Just
I'm the
steady
sixth man.
guy, start in a pinch, hit a game winner in Washington.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's a compliment. I'll take it.
yeah, exactly. So Raptors stuff. Look, there's not a lot of Raptors things going on. In fact, there's almost nothing. But we will, as we do every week, try to pull out something like 40 minutes to an hour of Raptors content somehow. So for this week's episode, we will talk about the 2017 free agency period because the Raptors do have some key players becoming free agents, namely Kyle Lowry and Patrick Patterson. And then we'll talk about changes in the Eastern Conference this summer. Any team out there in the East that scares us as Raptors fans. The Raptors dropped some new jerseys, so if you like jersey talk, let me tell you, there's going to be a couple minutes of jersey talk, and then yeah, we'll come back in segment two with Twitter questions. So, all right, let's talk about free agency. 2017, Lowry, he has a player option for 12 million for the 17-18 season that he's almost guaranteed to turn down because that's incredible underpay for someone like Lowry. So he's probably going to become an unrestricted free agent. Patrick Patterson's probably going to be an unrestricted free agent. And the two of them, if you just go off this year's prices, yeah, it could probably cost like 40 million in combined salary. And if you add that to the 90 million committed salary and the Raptors already have, it's 130 million dollars. The Raptors will be a luxury tax team. So let's start with Lowry, man. Harsh, what the hell do the Raptors do with 31-year-old free agent Kyle Lowry next summer?
You know how you're saying like it might cost 40 million to keep him? I like that could even go up to like nearly 50, I want to say.
For both of them?
Like is that like inconceivable to you? Like Lowry getting like 35 million a year and Patrick Patterson getting 15 a year? Like it's not out of the realm of possibility, I would say.
No, I mean, look, with the way the current CBA rules are, and this is a caveat because the CBA might change as well, but max salary for a guy with 10 plus years of experience, like Kyle Lowry is 35% of the salary cap, and the salary cap is 108 million, so he could potentially earn up to 36 million. Oh
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. And I don't know, like I feel like Lowry's another one of those guys like I think the easy comparison to make is Mike Conley, who's of similar age, um probably a little bit more injury prone, probably not quite as good as Lowry, but still getting, the full max, 5 years, what, 153 million to go back to Memphis this offseason. But in Conley's case, like he was really not entirely enamored with the situation in Memphis, so money was like the primary incentive for him to re-sign there. And I think like all things staying the same, like obviously the season could, depending on how the season plays out, things could change, but Lowry really seems to enjoy his time. He seemed to really enjoy his time in Toronto. He seems to have connected with the fans and with his teammates, especially DeRozan. So I think this is another one of those situations where I could see him taking a bit of a discount, like um maybe not going all the way up to the full max, maybe taking like 85%, 90% of the max. I could definitely see that. So um, but I do think that he's gonna demand a max salary from someone. Like for example, if you're Philadelphia, wouldn't you try to max out Kyle Lowry? Like why wouldn't you do that? He's from Philadelphia. Like why wouldn't you try to grab him while you can? Like talent like that becoming like I think Kyle Lowry's still kind of underrated in casual fan circles. Like this dude is legitimately like a top 10 NBA player, or he was last year. So um, I think he's gonna get the max from someone, and I think the Raptors are gonna have to pay up to keep him. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Someone's gonna pay him, and
Yeah,
like again, like this summer, a lot of teams had cap room because the cap jumped up. Cap's gonna jump up again, not nearly as dramatically as this summer, but Cap's gonna jump again. There will be teams out there with cap room. I mean, this is just something teams just gotta get used to. Like, there's just always gonna be cap room on the market, all the time because contracts are shorter now. And yeah, man, Lowry's gonna be a prime free agent. I mean, the one thing about the 2017 free agency class is that it's not as loaded as this year's. Like, sorry, it's much more loaded than this year's. Uh, you got Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook's off, but like Blake Griffin, um, who else? Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. Like, I mean, technically LeBron's a free agent as always. Uh, no, actually no, LeBron's on a 3-year deal, right? So yeah, LeBron's off the market for once. But yeah, there's a ton of names. It's such that like this year, for example, you see guys like DeMar DeRozan and Nicholas Batum, who are really good players, but like not typically what you would think as max players getting max salary.
yeah.
So, you
I
know,
pulled out some names for you
yeah,
for next year. There's Derrick Rose, Serge Ibaka, Steph Curry, Drew Holiday, Iguodala, Tyreek Evans, Zach Randolph, uh, George Hill, JJ Redick. Yeah, there's a ton of names. There's a lot of like really like very good to like or like decent to very good players that are free agents next year. So yeah, like and the other thing to point out is, just a tangent to that is the cap. Like I think teams overestimated how much the cap would jump, so they handed out salaries assuming that the cap was going to spike by a lot again, but the salary cap projections came out much lower than people actually thought. So maybe that affects the way that teams can spend. So that's another thing to take into account as well.
yeah, no, no, for sure. But like my general point is just like, look, Lowry, even with all those names on the market, like Lowry is still that caliber of
Yeah, yeah,
player,
for
top
sure.
10. Like he's gonna get a max salary for somebody, even at a position that's deep as point guard. I mean, I hope the Raptors he gets a discount, like DeMar DeRozan gave a discount. Certainly he's not obligated to give a discount at all, but he clearly likes it here. I think the Raptors have a great case of keeping him. I think that's one of the things that's weird when we talk about Raptors free agents now. In the past, it's not an easy assumption that their key free agents are going to stay. Um, but I mean, I don't really foresee a situation where if the Raptors offer comparable money that Kyle Lowry goes anywhere else. Certainly not to
Agreed,
his
for sure.
hometown of Philadelphia. Like, I'm sure he doesn't really want to go play with a lineup with four centers and one point guard. So, um, but I mean, yeah, like, there are some questions though. Like, 31 years old, Kyle Lowry, he would be next summer, and if the Raptors offer him something like a 5-year deal or even a 4-year deal, that's gonna carry him over to age 35, age 36. Um, and I don't know, man. I don't know. This guy's like a 5'11". He's got a kind of a spotty injury history based on the way he used to play. He's been remarkably, well, not remarkably healthy, but he's been fairly durable in the last 3 seasons. But we've seen Lowry play with a certain recklessness that if you take that away or if he's injured because of it, that could make it a very, very dicey proposition. Um, so I mean, like also like where's the if you lock in Lowry, then like where's the growth coming from this team like to take the next step? Like that's something that I've been like thinking about for most of the offseason. Right? Like what's the if the
Yeah,
Raptors lock in Lowry, what's the next step? And what's like the potential cost of that?
yeah. I think it's weird because like they're definitely because once they re-sign Lowry, they're basically capped out again,
Yes.
and at that point they're capped out to the point that that's their core. Like they have Valanciunas locked up, they have Terrence Ross locked up, DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, and that's the core that you're rolling with for like 2 or 3 years from that point.
Hmm.
So I don't know, like it's definitely like something to think about. Like, are we cool with a perennial 50-win team that maybe wins a round or two in the playoffs? Like, is that what Masai Ujiri is cool with? Like, is there some internal development that can take place? Um, it's it is a little bit concerning, but I also think like Lowry is not the guy to start like pinching pennies for, or like he's not the guy. He's the guy. He's the part of the core that actually makes this entire engine run. Like he is the key. Like even when Lowry had those giant cold spells in the playoffs, or or leading up to the playoffs, he still managed to be a net positive. Like the Raptors were hopeless without him. So I think like the way that I think of it is you don't worry about that when it comes to Kyle Lowry. You worry about that with the rest of the parts. Like, what do you do with DeMar DeRozan in year 3 of his contract? Or what do you do with Valanciunas? Is there a way that you can, find some value in the trade market because of the deal, like the discount deal that he has? Like, I would actually approach it that way. And I think with Lowry, you just pay whatever it takes to keep him because I think he's that good. The age thing is you're definitely, I mean, it's obviously something to worry about. I don't think you can really rely on a 36-year-old Lowry to be as good as he is now. But I'm starting to think, I'm just thinking that maybe he's the kind of guy that ages decently well. Like I think maybe he can like become a spot up shooter and he is like extremely intelligent. Maybe that helps him like maybe that elongates his peak a little bit. Like I'm not too sure, but yeah, for the present day, I definitely think they're gonna have to end up, paying into his age 36 season.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I mean that's probably what I think too. I mean it's kind of unavoidable, but like you said, man, Lowry is not the guy to pinch pennies with. This guy's the whole franchise. Like I think that's
Yeah,
that's the thing. He's the whole franchise, and uh, just because you might have to pay him like a ridiculous amount in when he's 36 doesn't really mean that you throw away what there's at least 3 good seasons left in Lowry, at least I would say.
yeah.
And you don't if you overpay for at the back end of that, that's something you worry about later on. But in the meantime, there's Lowry's still, if anything, somehow Lowry's career is getting better. Like he's hit his peak very late in his career. Like 27 is a weird time to hit your peak, but that's when he's hit his peak. And in the last 3 years, he's been incredible. So,
And remember, like he had his the best season of his career was his age 30 season, which is kind of weird. Like that doesn't really happen.
yeah, that doesn't
So
really happen
he's
for anybody.
yeah, especially a 6 foot point guard. Like that's pretty rare. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe his peak is a little bit later than usual. Who knows? Like I think that's what you bank on if you're gonna give him a max contract.
Yeah. And then one thing to keep in mind with Lowry too is just like he hasn't played that many minutes for someone who has reached the caliber that he has now. I mean, before he came to the Raptors, and even in the first season with the Raptors when he was number 3 Lowry and kind of, coming off the bench behind Jose Calderon for a while, like everyone does. It's a rite of passage that new point guards have to come off the bench behind Jose Calderon. But yeah, like he didn't really play that many minutes. I mean, so it's not the same situation as like a lot of other max type salary players because those guys have been high usage players ever since they come in the league and stuff. Lowry, like for example, Lowry has played 19,800 minutes. You can, and that's somehow less than Mike Conley, who's been in the league less than Lowry has,
Yeah,
and Conley who had played half a season last year. So
yeah, and he's been injured a lot. So yeah.
yeah, so I don't know, man. I guess it's just unavoidable. One thing that might not be unavoidable though is Patrick Patterson's free agency. Now Patrick Patterson doesn't have a player option or anything like that. His contract just straight up ends. Uh, well, two things. Do the Raptors keep Patrick Patterson next season, or do you think the Raptors trade him at the trade deadline? I mean, there's been talk up, not necessarily, solid rumors or anything like that, but there's been sort of logically, Patrick Patterson's the kind of guy that you can move at a trade deadline, that you can get something for, potentially upgrade over that power forward position. Do you keep Patrick Patterson all season, and then when you get to free agency, like do you again keep Patrick Patterson when he is gonna make a ton of money as a free agent?
Oh man, like I would like well, okay, so two things. One is I don't know if the Raptors really have a guy who can replace what Patrick Patterson does on the roster right now. Like even to a fractional element of what Patrick Patterson does. Like the amount of switching that he can do, the stretch four capabilities that he has. Like I don't know if there's anybody else on the roster like that, unless you're thinking like Jared Utoff is gonna do something. Like
Who?
I don't
Oh,
think that's sorry, what?
with the training camp guy?
Yeah, unless you would like rely on him. Like who else on this roster can do that? Like I feel like Jared Sullinger is like a different type of 4 or 5 than
Very
Patrick
different.
Patterson.
He's a five.
Yeah, exactly. He's pretty much a 5 who's like tiny, so he plays 4.
Yeah.
Um, so I would worry about that, and Patrick Patterson's defensive versatility has been pretty massive. Like the Raptors have started to use him on Carmelo and LeBron and a lot of these bigger 3-4 type of guys. So he's pretty essential to what the Raptors do as far as role players are concerned. My second question, I guess, would be, and this is more like an open discussion, not really a point, but how much do you think this guy makes in the offseason? Like, I'm looking at the contracts that were handed out this offseason, and like Mozgov getting 4 years, 64, Mahinmi getting 4 years, 64, there's Marvin Williams getting 4 years, 54. But then there's like guys like John Lure and like Myers Leonard who got 4 years, 40, around 40. And that's a lot of money for John Lure and Myers Leonard. Like, so how much? Like, where does Patrick Patterson fit in on this scale? Like, in a higher cap environment. Like, keep in mind that not everyone has cap space anymore, like the way that it was this offseason. But um, that's a lot of money, man.
Okay. Well, the one guy I look at as a comparison for Patrick Patterson is Marvin Williams. You know, a
Yeah,
similar type of player. Um, it's, I mean, Marvin Williams is a little bit more of a wing, but essentially they're both 3 and D power forwards in today's
yeah,
NBA. And Marvin Williams got 4 years, 55 million this season from
yeah.
the Hornets, and he actually took a discount to stay in Charlotte, so that's actually a discounted salary. So that's about $50 million per year. And now Marvin Williams is 30, and Patrick Patterson is like 27. And I would
hmm
say Patrick Patterson is a little is slightly different, but essentially the same kind of player. And so, I mean, you factor in a higher cap, you factor in the fact that Patrick Patterson is younger. I mean, I would say the floor for Patrick Patterson is 15 mil per year, and I don't think you worry too much about the number of years on his contract because Patterson is gonna be a solid player no matter what. But yeah, I mean at least 15 mil, man,
Yeah.
at least.
See that's concerning. It's a lot. That's a lot of money, especially if you're gonna give Lowry like 30-ish million as well. Like that is a shit ton of money. Um, especially if you're not even committed to starting the dude, right? Like then you have this weird situation where for some reason they feel that Valanciunas and Patterson don't shouldn't be playing together to start games or whatever. Like I don't, it's kind of weird to me. But like on that note, like um, that's why I would have loved to see the Raptors go out and get somebody like Darrell Arthur as like insurance. Darrell Arthur got 3 years, 23 million this offseason, which is, I would say it's pretty cheap for a guy like Darrell Arthur, who's pretty damn good defensively and has a similar role offensively for the Nuggets. Um, that would have been some nice Patrick Patterson insurance. Like, it feels weird to talk about insurance for a guy like Patrick Patterson, who's just, he's the quintessential role player, but they have nobody else like that on the roster. So
I
if
mean,
he leaves, I do worry that there's going to be a gaping hole. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. I mean, look, power forward's already like a big hole in the Raptors scheme, right? And I think
Yeah,
the like re-signing Patrick Patterson is not going to necessarily fix that, given that he's already supposed to be that solution now. And look, Patterson is very, very useful to the Raptors. I mean, he's been slept on as the fourth member of the Raptors core ever since the Raptors traded Rudy Gay. It's been Lowry, DeRozan, Valanciunas, and Patterson. I mean, I don't really want to count Ross in that because Ross is not nearly as reliable as Patterson. Patterson is really the fourth member of that core, and on paper he fits it perfectly. But like, there's just I don't know, man. There's just like no upside with Patterson. You know what I mean? Like, remember last season when he would pump fake and then like try to do shit off the dribble and stuff? Like that just wasn't. You know what I mean? Like that's not his
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
You don't really see like where offshoots of his game where he could develop into. And I mean, I'm not saying that he can't become better. He's 27, but like you can't expect everyone to have a late peak like Lowry. I mean, Patterson kind of is what he is. And if you lock in Patterson, again, that's one thing that you're saying. Like, yeah, you're fine with locking in Lowry because like he's the foundation. He's a foundational player. But then when it comes to a guy like Patterson, like he is a foundational player. He's immensely important. But if you lock in Patterson at 15 million, like that's another. That's again the opportunity cost there is potentially improving because like you said, like the Darrell Arthur thing is a perfect example. Like ideally with the kind of player like Patrick Patterson, you kind of want to find a discount, right? And then that way you could free up more money to be spent elsewhere, um,
yeah.
right? And so I mean,
I
I
think
think
I think you're right. I think you're right in the sense that um, the Raptors have always talked about, financial flexibility, and they've had flexibility for pretty much Masai Ujiri's entire tenure here.
mhm.
There's been pieces that he could move around and like upcoming free agents and like not locking in long-term salary and that's sort of where we're headed now. Like where if they start bringing in this entire core, you're gonna have people locked in for like 3-4 years minimum, and that's not to say that the salary isn't movable because I think all these guys are pretty tradable because they're the ones who make a lot of money are really good, so um, they will all be movable, but it's still I don't think that's Masai Ujiri's MO, and I'd be really surprised if we basically go into the beginning of the 2017-2018 season with this exact core, except everybody's locked in on long-term deals. I'd be extremely surprised by that. Would you be surprised? Like, I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think as much as sustained success is nice, um, you still want to make a move and potentially make this team into a championship contender. And I think the Raptors are like most championship contenders. They're like they have a sorry, non-championship contenders. They have a good team, a really good team, and they need another significant piece. Um, and they just have to kind of wait for it to happen, either be available via trade or something, or well, I guess they can't really sign anyone because they don't have any cap room whatsoever. But yeah, I would be surprised too because yeah, if you bring back the same team for year five, like year five of this, um, you know, same core four players plus Ross, like it's just I don't know, like what I don't realistically see that much internal growth that can get them over Cleveland in the East and then out West. I mean, like holy crap, like the Raptors going to compete with the Warriors anytime soon? Probably not. So
Yeah, and
goddamn
like
Warriors, man,
it's
and goddamn LeBron.
even
LeBron, stop winning the East. It's enough. It's enough. It's been 6 of the year. It's been 6 years in a row.
but man,
And James
to
Jones.
be honest, I
Don't
respect
forget James
LeBron too
Jones.
much, man. James Jones.
Don't forget perennial final NBA finalist James Jones.
We should just sign James Jones, and then something's got to give.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's all I have on this, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's something coming on the horizon, I guess, and I guess it's difficult.
It
Like,
is. It is. I think that the last point to make I wanted to say was like it's not just about like actually making a move to like potentially put yourself over the top, but it's to even like leave room to do so, right? And like locking in that much long-term salary is probably not the prudent move when it comes to that. Um, at least you want to leave yourself the possibility to potentially like take on some salary and get yourself over the hump and like re-signing a guy like Patrick Patterson to like 16 mil a year is probably not the wisest move considering the sort of salaries they have on the books.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Although you know what, honestly, re-signing Patrick Patterson, if he signs for about 15 million, like that's a movable contract.
Yeah, I mean
The
they're
Raptors
all
do
moving.
need
That's
pieces
why.
where they can move around and stuff, but yeah, sounds like a lot for Patrick Patterson,
Yeah.
even in the
For
new
sure.
cap. Sorry. Um, okay, let's move on. Speaking of free agency, what a transition.
Wow.
This year's free agency, the Raptors mostly stood pat. We lost Bismack Biyombo, who is turning 24 this year, or according to Kyle Lowry, 48. Do you think, actually, sidebar, do you think Bismack is closer to 48 or 24?
I think there's a question about that. Yeah, from one of your listeners.
There's a question that way from Kyle Lowry, man. I mean, Bismack, tell,
Bismack has
tell
a
the
very
truth.
youth.
Tell the truth,
He has
Bismack.
a useful smile, man. Youthful smile.
He does. He does. I'm gonna miss
Tell
Bismack,
the
man.
truth.
It's gonna
Is
be.
that what you said?
Well, I say it, tell the truth.
Oh my God.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, yeah, happy birthday, Bismack. Yeah, the Raptors lost Bismack. It's gonna suck. And they brought in Jared Sullinger, uh, who is, I think, a little bit better of a player in the overall in the aggregate. But regardless, the Raptors didn't do much this offseason. Other teams did do a lot this offseason. So, is there a team in the East, a new look team in the East that scares you?
Um, I guess the obvious one is Boston. That's what everyone's gonna say.
Mm.
Boston's definitely kind of scary. Like Al Horford is really freaking good,
He's
man, and
really
he's gonna
good.
be taking, yeah, and he's gonna be, taking over Jared Sullinger's minutes and like eating into Tyler Zeller's minutes, and they're gonna have a lot of funky looks with, Horford, Amir, and Kelly Olynyk and Jonas Jerebko. Like there's a lot of funky things that the Celtics can do now. So yeah, they're definitely a little bit scary now, scarier. I still don't think like none of these teams are really challenging Cleveland. Like there's like a big gulf still between one and two. Um, I guess another team that's pretty good now, or like that's intriguing at least, is Indiana. Indiana's kind of interesting to me.
You like their high tempo, no shooting team.
I mean, I like Paul George. I
Okay.
like Paul George a lot, and I like Miles Turner, and I think like there's room for internal development there. Um, I didn't like that Jeff Teague trade. I didn't like him much at all. Like George Hill was kind of perfect for them, but I guess they wanted another creator. But they already had, who was it gonna say? Oh, Monte Ellis. So I'm not too sure what the plan is there.
I mean, yeah, look, the Pacers. Man, I mean, look, they lost a lot of their defensive players. I mean, we saw the Pacers up close in the playoffs in the first round. Obviously, Paul George is a monster. That man is probably the second best player in the Eastern Conference behind LeBron. Um, but I mean, like, remember the Raptors, the Raptor killers in that series were like Jan Mahimni was awesome. Do you remember game six? I think the Raptors could have finished it out. Jan Mahimni had like 25 points. Yeah, regardless, like he's a really good defensive player, and he was very underrated for them last year. Key part of their defense that stood pat after Roy Hibbert fell off a cliff, and then got traded. Solomon Hill is well, at least in that series was an incredible small ball four, and then they lost George Hill, who is was really ideally suited to play off someone like Paul George, a high usage wing like Paul George. He's a great defender, great 3-point shooter, can handle the ball reliably. So, I mean, as much as their additions are kind of exciting and they want to play high tempo, I want to see how that looks, first of all, under a new coach and everything else like that. I want to see how their high tempo offense looks, whether or not it's actually effective because they don't actually have that much shooting. Um, and then I want to see how their defense, recovers because like who's their big aside from Miles Turner, who is a nice defender, but like he's a talented defender. He's not always productive defensively. I mean, like who else do they have to protect the basket? Al Jefferson?
Shout out to Al Jefferson though.
Why?
Well, because I remember Al Jefferson would terrorize the Raptors, man.
Okay, sure.
Al Jefferson would scare me when he's like
Yo,
45.
he isn't.
He'll always scare me.
Jakob Pertles is gonna shut him down.
Oh God, I totally forgot we had Jakob
That's
Pertl.
right.
See, Jakob Pertl's the answer to Patrick Patterson's leaving in free
What
agency.
Alpine Arugio, as you called him?
Alpine Rugio.
Alpine Arugio is not stopping um, the loss of Patrick Patterson. He's not making up for
Yeah.
it, but he will stop Al Jefferson. Yo, shout out to Al Jefferson for being like a 32-year-old dude who got caught with weed. Like he got suspended by the league for weed. Like you have to test positive 5 times, like 5 separate times in order to get caught. in terms to get suspended for weed, and he's like 31. Like, come on, man. You've been in this league a long time, Al. You know how it goes. Anyway, um,
Al Jefferson wants that loud, man. He
Al
wants that good
Jefferson
kush.
wants that. You don't understand, man. The crop in Charlotte.
Yeah, you don't get it. Yo, but like how did Al Jefferson even fit on that team though? Like they started going towards this like high tempo thing that they're doing, but and then they signed like literally the slowest center they could find on the market.
Oh, they signed Jonas.
Like, is there a slower center besides Jonas Valanciunas? Like,
It depends on what you would call Luis Scola.
oh
I can't believe
God,
the Raptors started with Scola and Valanciunas. No, I kid. Valanciunas is even Valanciunas is faster than Al Jefferson. I think that's the point. I'm trying to make. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Maybe he does more damage against second unit centers. But
I think that's the plan, right? They had no like secondary scoring like off the bench. Like the Ty Lawson experiment was an abject failure, so.
mm,
Uh, I think that's the I think that's what they're going for with Al Jefferson, just to have an additional scoring punch off the bench,
yeah, the
which
option.
is
Mm,
not a bad idea, I'd say, especially considering how talented Al Jefferson is in offensively, like with his post game and stuff. As long as you're not like relying on him for like 35 minutes a night, I think it's not a bad idea.
yeah, I mean, look, defensively it's an issue, but I mean, offensively, it's a nice. He's always going to be an option on offense. And sometimes you kind of need a shot creator. Now, theoretically, if you're going to play fast, you don't necessarily need as much shot creation because that will come out of your high tempo offense. But you're going to play half court sometime, and Jefferson's a nice, and it didn't cost him much either. So, um, man, I didn't realize at the time, but the optics of getting uh, Ty Lawson on a team named after a car was just not good. Not good.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Right,
not good.
good call.
And he was not good. Seriously, I think Ty Lawson lost the Pacers at least one playoff game because like no matter it was Corey Joseph, it was Kyle Lowry, like and everybody would burn Ty Lawson.
Yeah,
So bad on defense. So
it got to a point where he was racking up like double digit negative plus minus in like 5 minutes of playing time, and it was like he was totally unplayable.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um. Anyone else in the East? Are you scared of the Knicks? I'm kind of like weirdly scared of the Knicks because they don't have productive players, but they have talented players. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. I think that's fair.
and like I wouldn't want to face the Knicks in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like just because of their potential. Like there's certain teams you can play in the playoffs because you know there's not that much potential there. Quite honestly, the Raptors are kind of like that. What you see is what you get with the Raptors. Like you know what I mean? Like the Raptors are good. Don't get me wrong. The Raptors are a very good team. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals for a reason. But like the Knicks are like one of those teams where you play them in the playoffs. There might be more there than what meets the eye sometimes. I don't know if they're fully
Yeah,
healthy,
for
obviously.
sure. Yeah, definitely. I agree a lot actually. Like I think in theory, I really like Joakim Noah. Potentially against the Raptors. I also really like Carmelo. If those two guys are healthy, I think that's a really intriguing team. And then obviously you add like whatever development Kristaps goes through for his second year.
Mm,
Like
yep.
I don't know, maybe turns into a goddamn unicorn. Like I'm not really, I don't know what to expect out of Derrick Rose, but I'm just gonna leave that part alone. But between a potentially healthy Joakim Noah, Carmelo Anthony, Kristaps, and like pretty good role players like Courtney Lee, like I don't know, that team could be a problem for sure. I think people turned them into a punchline this offseason, which was kind of weird to me, but like they made some pretty smart moves, man. Like in terms of like a team trying to maximize or raise their ceiling, like with limited means to do so, like I think the Knicks did a pretty decent job.
Yeah. Um. I think Phil Jackson increased like the potential of that team. I guess that's the bigger thing because like what the hell were they really gonna do with Robin Lopez and whatever team they had before that, Langston Galloway and shit. So, um, yeah, I mean, yeah, the Celtics for sure. The Hornets, I feel like they got worse because they lost Lynn. But didn't they sign like Lynn's like body double on Ramon Sessions? Who signed Ramon Sessions?
Who did sign Ramon Sessions?
Yeah, I'm gonna look this up.
This
Uh,
is this is off-season mode when you're talking about Ramon Sessions. Charlotte.
Charlotte signed Ramon Sessions. That was smart because
Yeah.
he's literally the same as Jeremy Lin. It's just a guy who drives to the basket with a somewhat suspect jumper. Okay, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, look, I guess they lost Al Jefferson, and I guess they get Michael Kidd Gilchrist back. I don't know, man. I still struggle to see how that team is like a Oh, they lost Courtney Lee as well. Yeah, I just struggled to
Yeah.
see how that team is gonna consistently be a top 10 offense, like especially in the playoff setting. I think the Raptors beat them quite handily. The Hawks, I mean, actually, I think
No.
Dwight Howard's gonna be interesting for the Hawks. It definitely changes their dynamic, but it's gonna be it's gonna be a lot harder to maintain their fluid, gorgeous offense when Dwight Howard demands post up touches all the time, which
Yeah,
he's not good
and
at.
they also lost Jeff Teague, who was not he wasn't like the greatest point guard. He was like, but he was pretty
He's an
good.
average starting
And
point
I
guard.
don't know if, sorry,
He's an average starting point guard, I would say. Jeff Teague.
he's probably a little bit. I mean, I don't know. Point guard's pretty deep. I guess he's about average. And I don't know if Dennis Schroeder is as good as him yet. I mean, I think there's a bit of a drop off there. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, like, who else is like? Are you scared of the Bulls? I'm. What the hell are the
No,
Bulls?
no, the
There's
Bulls
literally
can't
no
shoot at
shooting
all, man.
at all.
They have zero shooting, man.
Yeah. Mm.
Like when Jimmy Butler's like your most reliable shooter, like in the starting lineup, that's probably not a good sign.
I can't believe you would disrespect the god Doug McDermott like that. Raptor killer
No,
Doug
McBuckets
McDermott.
is off the bench, bro.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Well, Dwayne Wade is a 3-point shooter now.
Well, against the Raptors, yeah.
Oh,
So we got to watch out.
yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, the Raptors. I won't say they should comfortably go back to the Eastern Conference Finals, but like I really don't see a team that's going to be better than the Raptors in terms of a one-on-one playoff series. I think the teams that gave the Raptors a lot of trouble were teams that had a lot of rim protection um, to guard against and big wing stoppers. And I think the Pacers, for example, were actually quite well matched to face the Raptors, but they lost the bulk of the rim protection now, and I don't know, they lost a lot of defense. And I guess like the Celtics maybe, but like the Raptors have advantages over the Celtics too. But yeah, I don't know, man. There are a lot of changes happened in the East. Just doesn't really feel like the East. A lot of teams in the East got better, except for Boston. I think Boston did get better a lot, but everyone else not really. Um, okay, let's
Yeah, I do agree with that. That sounds about right.
mm, let's touch on one more thing before we get to Twitter questions in the second half. Actually, you know what? Let's just do one full run through of the podcast. I don't want to do that editing. The new jerseys. You saw the new jerseys? Huskies
Yo, they're fire, man.
and the Chinese New Year jersey that I'm already pre-ordering as we speak.
Is it weird for an Indian man to rock a Chinese New Year jersey?
Not at all. Not at all. We're all Southeast Asians, kind of.
Actually, as part of your Milton soccer team, as a proud member of it,
Yes. Shout
of
out to
your
Chinese
Milton
Messi.
Chinese soccer team, I think I'm allowed to rock it now.
I mean, look, we wear red. You know, you could wear that. That's cool.
Wear a Raptors jersey to soccer games.
Yo, actually, the Raptors jersey. That's the fact that it's a Toronto Raptors jersey that has Chinese characters on it is like my life and my brand in one piece of accessory, like clothing.
I I'm willing to guess that you're gonna be one of the first 10 people to order it.
Definitely, definitely. I'm ordering it. It's probably already available on Alibaba or AliExpress.
Yo, AliExpress is my shit, man. I wait for shipments for 2 months, like daily.
It's gotta come over here by boat. It's smuggled over and
Yeah,
shipped
no.
to avoid tariffs. But I mean, yo, if you can wait 2 months on that very timely Iceland soccer jersey, you gotta do it. You gotta do it.
Yo, I got that Iceland soccer jersey like a week ago.
Yeah. Yo, do you think the Raptors should rebrand and just like become the Huskies? Because I think I saw something uh, like I don't know, people were just discussing that on Twitter and stuff. This is where we're at with Raptors news. Okay, I saw something on
Yeah.
Twitter. Um, God damn.
No, man, I think I'm fine with Raptors. Like I think it works, and it can. I mean, people keep trying to say that it's lame, but I don't think it's that lame. Like, sure, it's they came up with that idea based on Jurassic Park coming out, but it's not like the idea of a dinosaur is tied to Jurassic Park. So, like, it's fine. Like, raptors are cool. Dinosaurs are cool, man. Everybody loves dinosaurs. Um, I think it's fine as long as they. I think the fact that they moved away from like the actual um physical dinosaur in the logo, I think that's a good step. And having it be subtle as a claw on a basketball or whatever, I think that's fine. I think it's a little bit better, and I think it works now. I don't think they need to move to Huskies. There's too many Huskies anyway, man. UConn already owns the Husky market. Like that's
Oh,
Huskies
they
is
own
all
the Husky market.
they own the Husky market, man.
Yeah. The one of the things is like I don't really feel like there's actual history. You know what I mean? Like like yeah, they played whatever the first ever NBA game was between the Huskies and the Knicks in like the 40s or 50s and stuff. But like I don't know. It's not like a basketball team existed called the Huskies in Toronto and was beloved for like 40 years, and then they came out with the Raptors. No, there's the
Yeah,
Raptors have been
yeah, for
beloved for
sure.
20, 22 years, 21 years. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be pretty pissed if they changed
And they,
away
and
from the
man,
Raptors
they're just
stuff.
gonna look like the Timberwolves anyway.
Well, the Timberwolves look like Team Canada, to be honest.
They do. Should have gotten Jamal Murray, but
Should have
yeah,
got Jamal Murray, but I mean, Chris Dunn is nice. If they want a younger Rubio.
yeah.
Um,
But
okay.
yeah, like I think those jerseys are nice.
No, they're very
I
nice.
was telling you this on the G chats that I thought it's kind of weird that they didn't hop on this Chinese New Year thing earlier, like considering the number of Chinese Canadians, Chinese people in Toronto, like seems like a logical thing to do, uh, to like, connect with the culture a little bit. I saw a lot of people hating on the secondary Huskies jersey, like the alternate,
What, the blue one?
saying it looks amateurish, saying it looks like a varsity high school
It's
team
because it's
jersey.
so plain. Like it's got nothing on it. But like, do you remember when the Raptors came out with the Huskies jersey in like 2010? Like rookie
Yeah.
DeMar was wearing them with Chris Bosh and
Yep.
Hito.
Oh man,
That's an awful
what a
team.
team.
Yeah, those were like super super basic. It's just like it looks like a white um, tank top with like the word Raptors in blue. That was
Yeah.
it's just not appealing. I don't know. Or sorry, the word Huskies in blue. So like I like this one better at least.
I mean, I think it looks unique. Like the the color is like super bright. Like it really stands out. It's a like I don't think we've seen that kind of a blue on an NBA jersey in quite some time.
Yeah, it's like
I think
shiny
those
metallic blue.
Yeah, like I think those old school like Mavs used to wear jerseys similar to that. Like I can't really think of many other jerseys like that. And I think like as an alternate jersey, you want it to look a little bit, radically different. Like you want it to like stand out. So I think it's fine, and it's gonna look it's gonna look really funny on the court though, like because the court is like just red and well, I guess there's a little bit of white and a little bit of black, and it doesn't mesh with the court at all.
Yeah.
So it's gonna look a little bit funky, but I think it's fine. It looks good.
Honestly, when I first saw it, it kind of like that kind of blue kind of looks like Sean John gear. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like it's like a little bit metallic, a little bit shiny. Looks almost like it's made out of. If the Raptors wore Sean Johns
it looks
on
it
the
looks like
court.
it belongs in like a 2005 music video.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
Cassidy's probably rocked that before he made a.
Oh,
Uh,
Cassidy.
Cassidy's career is over, by the way. If anyone is curious, just look for Cassidy's sex education rap video where he remixed Psy's Gangnam Style for Condom Style.
It's as bad as it sounds.
It's really bad. It's you know what though? It's spectacularly bad. It's worthy of going to see it. Like the Knicks, for example, they could be spectacularly bad. They're
Yeah,
interesting.
like I stopped my day for like 15 minutes just to take in how bad that
Yeah, it
was.
was pretty good. G chats were lit that night.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
okay, yeah, let's wrap up with questions. As always, if you want us to answer a question, hit us up at Raptors Republic. We will answer what basically we'll answer whatever you want us to answer within reason. Um, yeah, especially in the off season, man. We're looking to talk to people. We're looking to engage the fans. And here are some of the fans that were engaging with us. First up, uh, Faisal, our guy, Sportsnet, anchoring, looking fresh all the time, and all sorts of gear and kits and everything. Sucks that he's a United fan, but whatever. What's Harsh's favorite Mike James memory?
God damn Mike
That's
James,
that's
man.
that's a that's a callback. Yeah,
That's a
Mike
deep
James.
cut too, man.
Yeah,
Uh, Favorite Mike James memory was probably, I think it was the second last game of the season. What was it, 2005, 2006, I want to say. And he was going into that game averaging like 19 points a game or something, 19 point something. And this man was so dedicated to the cause of getting to 20 points per game in a season. I think he dropped 37 in that game, second last game of the year, and got his average up to like 20.4 or something like that. And then like he just like he only scored like 14 in the last game, but yeah, like that game was basically what took him over the top to get to 20 points per game. And you could tell like this man was like, I'm gonna get 30 points, 30 plus points if it takes me like 30 shots to get there. Like I do not care. Um, and you know what? Like considering how bad the Raptors were at the time, I can't really blame him.
no, I can't blame him at all. In fact, he was like low key efficient too. He shot
Yo, he
44%
was
from
good
deep.
that year.
Yeah, and he was a obviously he shot a lot of threes and everything, and he took a lot of shots because he was in a contract year, and he got a contract with Timberwolves after that. By the way, what you're talking about? He had 39 points, 6 assists against Detroit in the second last game of the season.
That's what it was. Yep, yeah,
Killed
that's
it,
the
man. He
one.
killed it. He's one
Yeah,
like
and he was like really efficient that year, and I don't know, like it. It's weird because that year was such an aberration for him. I think the next best year he had was like 11 points a game.
yeah, he's like a journeyman. He played for like 9 teams.
Like I really that season just makes absolutely no sense because like it wasn't just that he was like he was jacking up shots left and right, but he was also doing it pretty efficiently. Like they were going in, so I don't know. Mike James's career is like super weird based on that 1 year alone.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? I actually probably gonna look it up now. In the month of April, in his one season with the Raptors, he averaged 27.6 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists.
I'm telling you, man,
He
this
was
guy
going crazy.
decided he was gonna get to 20 points a game.
He,
Like he he like set a marker in his mind. He's like, that's what's gonna get me paid, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get there.
I respect a man like that. You know, he had priorities. It wasn't winning games with the Raptors, but like whatever. The
No, it
Raptors weren't
really
trying to
wasn't.
win games anyway, man. It's an awful
And he was
team.
in a contract year, man.
He
Whatever.
got
Get your
paid.
money, Mike.
Yeah, he's a journeyman. You can't blame him for that.
And yo, he was
Hmm.
in the NBA at like what, age 37, 38?
Yeah, Tom Thibodeau. He's one of Tom Thibodeau's reclamation projects, right?
There you go. Like Mike James, man, freaking stayed in the NBA till he was 38.
Yeah, exactly. So
Get your money, Mike. Good job.
the Amityville scorer.
Is that what he's called?
That's what he called himself, man.
Oh my God,
It
that's
was.
awful.
It's an awful, awful nickname, and I can't believe he's like one of what 4 players in Raptors history to average over 20 points a season.
Oh my God.
It's yeah. It's well, no, maybe 5. I think it's Damon, it's Vince, DeRozan, Lowry, and Mike James.
Jesus.
And for 13 games,
Mike
Andre
James, man.
Bargnani. So don't ever sleep. Stay woke on Andre Bargnani. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Patrick. How old is Bismack Biyombo actually? 24 doesn't seem right. I mean, he's probably like 28. Probably 28. This is what I'm saying. Look, he has the wisdom of like a 50-year-old. Just go back and
Yeah,
look.
he's a
Someone's got to
wise
go
ass
back and
businessman.
compile the best Bismack Biyombo quotes from his one season with the Raptors.
He's also been through things, man. Bismack
Yes,
is. I love Bismack, man.
he's great. Masai saved him.
Masai, NBA cares, man.
Yeah, the Patrick Patterson, or not the Patrick, the Bismack Biyombo stuff. I mean, do you remember when he said someone asked him like, "Are you afraid of like are the Raptors afraid of LeBron?" After Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and he was like, "Nah, man, I'm not afraid of LeBron. I'm not afraid of any man. I'm afraid of lions. Like this straight up where like you know interactive with lions in the wild and shit. Like I'm not afraid of LeBron James." Um, just one of many many beautiful quotes from Bismack. So I miss the man, man. But yeah, come on, man.
Cool.
Tell the truth about your age. You're not 24. All right, from Norm West Powell Brook. Man,
Wow.
wow. Man. Okay, what game are you each looking forward to the most in the upcoming season? I'll
Oh,
start first on this.
yeah.
I don't know what day it is, but the first game, not the first game, sorry, the one nationally broadcast game where they're playing against the Boston Celtics. I want the Raptors to completely embarrass the Celtics. Like none of this. The Celtics fans, man, they've been going hard all off season. All right, you would have thought they signed Tim Duncan in his prime, with Al Horford. We're talking about like Jay Crowder's gonna be an All Star, Isaiah Thomas is gonna be an All Star, uh, Isaiah Thomas is gonna make All NBA team. Uh, Al Horford's gonna make All NBA team. Avery Bradley's gonna be Defensive Player of the Year. Marcus Smart gonna be Most Improved. Like, guys, you gotta stop. Jaylen Brown's gonna become Rookie of the Year. Like, you guys, Brad Stevens is gonna be Coach of the Year. Like, you guys gotta stop. Let's just stop. Okay, let's have a little humility about the fact that your team is kind of average. It's kind of still is kind of average, and I don't really see how this team consistently scores in the playoffs. Like, there's ways you can shut down the Celtics, and maybe make it out of the first round before all this hubris. I'm excited for the Celtics too, but like, I think because the Celtics made moves in the offseason and the Raptors mostly stood pat, people were got the Celtics jumping over the Raptors. No, that's not going to happen. And I want that national televised game. I think it's on TNT. It's like a Thursday game, probably 8 p.m. Yeah, man, I want the Raptors to show up and be like, look, listen, Celtics, you guys are still a tier below.
What game am I looking forward to the most? How about the first game?
When Vince Carter
Jonas
gets traded back to the
Valanciunas.
Raptors,
No, the first
that's
game
happening.
when Jonas comes back to Toronto after getting traded for DeMarcus Cousins.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. Boogie murders Jonas. Remember the punch that
Yeah,
he held up on in the 2014 FIBAs? He's gonna follow through with
I've
that.
never looked at Jonas the same since.
Yeah, I don't blame him for flinching, but mm, yeah,
I think to be
we're
to
trading
be
for
fair to
Boogie.
him, I think he's stuck surprise.
Well, yeah, of course. Why would you expect to get punched?
Yeah, he was just like, "Oh shit, what's happening?" Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next one from Jamie Duke. Uh, how fun would it be to watch the Raptors destroy the Knicks and the Celtics? I mean, I already talked about the Celtics. I mean, do you take pleasure in destroying the Knicks? I don't really hate the Knicks.
No, I like the Knicks, man. Like I mean,
They're low-key the
there's
most woke team in the league. You got Joakim
yo,
and
they're
Carmelo
a
on the same
cool team,
team. Derrick
man.
Rose is a pretty real dude too.
The Knicks are a cool team, man. Like I've been. Have you been to a game at the MSG?
No, I've always wanted to though. Oh, that's like
So
man, that reminds me of one of the greatest scenes in cinematic history in Rush Hour 2, end of Rush Hour 2. Do you remember when Jackie Chan is at the airport with Chris Tucker and he turns around, he's like
yeah.
in his broken English, I always wanted to watch a game in Madison Square Garden to watch the Knicks play. I'm Jackie Chan in that
So
situation. I don't know why I did
there you
that
go,
on.
Jackie Chan.
Wow. This is gonna be
Oh,
published.
there.
Not editing that out. I
It's okay. It was you who did it, not me. I think we're fine.
Rush Hour, the Rush Hour movies put me on a irreversible path to wokeness. So
Yeah.
wow,
No, man. I like the Knicks. The MSG is a really cool arena.
yes,
Their fans are like kind of similar to Raptors fans, like in the just
self-depreciating
like
way,
demographic. Sorry?
they're self-depreciating, kind of like Raptors fans are.
Yeah, they are, and like even demographically speaking, like they're really similar.
Hmm.
Uh, New York's a cool city. Like I actually really like the Knicks. Like I think the Knicks are a cool team. I like when the Knicks are good. The basketball is more fun when the Knicks are good.
I totally agree.
Um, Celtics, yeah, Celtics can get lost.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. Like I hope we crush the Celtics. Like again, because we crushed them last year too.
Yep.
So
Yep.
um, Celtics fans can relax a little bit. Like the Raptors are like 8 games better than them. We're 8 games better than them last year, and like I don't understand this idea that they've taken that level of a jump and the Raptors have regressed that much. Like, let's just see how things play out. So,
Yo, I'm gonna just
yeah,
drop
I'm
Celtics
gonna
fans
relish
with.
each.
I'm gonna drop Celtics fans with this. The Celtics were 26 in defensive rebounding last season. Uh, defensive rebounding rate, and they lost their best rebounder in Jared Sullinger, and I would argue their only like good rebounder at all. Every other player is a below average rebounder. Well, every other front court player is a below average rebounder. And then they've got in Al Horford, who is a very talented player, can do a ton of things on the court. You know, one of the best big men in the Eastern Conference. But Al Horford grabbed rebounds at like 18% of defensive rebounds last season, and the Hawks were just have been pretty bad at rebounding for like the longest time. Um, and to put that 18% defensive rebounding percentage into perspective, that's like about the same as Al-Farouq Aminu, who's a small forward slash power forward ish type. So
Yeah.
Celtics have problems too, man. Not that simple. But yeah, seriously, it's mostly the Celtics fans.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Celtics fans. Although some of them are pretty good. Some of the bloggers actually, Celtics got excellent bloggers.
They
Um,
do. They do. They have some smart people.
all right, next one from young Joshua Hart, my guy, a really good dude. At not Josh Hart, follow him. How much time does DeMar Carroll have to play at the 4 of the season, and will he hold up? Well, okay, it depends on this. If you think Jared Sullinger is a backup power forward like I do, the backup center like I do, then you got a really big hole power forward to fill. And Patterson, as we know, can probably play max 30 effective minutes until he starts carving off. So someone's got to fill in the rest of that time, and it's probably going to be DeMar Carroll. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, that I agree. I think they're still gonna limit his minutes at the 4. Like I think they'll use like a deep bench option every now and then, just to preserve Damari Carroll for the playoffs. But I think come playoff time, I think you'll see a lot of small ball and Damari Carroll playing the 4. I don't think you'll. I think it'll be they'll do it in the season, but I don't think they want to do it all that much.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure. You want to preserve that for the playoffs anyway. But like, yo, DeMar DeRozan just tweeted, "Happy birthday to my old head at Bismack Biyombo. Enjoy the big 3-0, bro."
Oh my god.
Oh, Bismack. Tell the truth, Bismack. Oh man, that's hilarious. All right, last 2 questions for both from Keith.
DeMar's definitely catching an elbow to the head.
For sure. Bismack is gonna block the shit out of DeMar DeRozan. Okay, 2 more questions from Keith Wall. Will T. Ross break out this year, or will he be gone by the trade deadline? I think he's gone by the trade deadline. No offense. I don't think he's
You think
breaking
he's
out.
gone?
I mean, the thing is, if he breaks out, it's a great contract. It's a really great contract. Even for what he is, that's still a fine, average, tradable contract. It's just the Raptors have to find a way to take the next step. And Ross is a salary that could be moved to, make that happen. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think he's the prime candidate to be traded simply because they have depth at his position and his contract is, I guess, pretty valuable or like semi-valuable. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was gone. I also don't think he's breaking out. So yeah,
He's not breaking out, man.
no, this is who he is.
Although he dominated the Drew League, so. Yo, Baron Davis dominates the Drew League, so for anybody, yeah. Sorry, T. Ross. I mean, maybe prove us wrong though. Maybe I'll look. I'm the first to jump back in on Terrence Ross.
Oh yeah, you're an old head on that bandwagon.
I'm an old head. My head is pretty old. My head is very large. I don't know. I don't even know what it's supposed to mean. What the tie-in there was. All right, last question, man. This podcast has gone way too long. Too many not yet ready to contribute. Are you afraid of injuries as I am? Yeah, the Raptors aren't deep. The Raptors are deep in terms of their first and second units are good, but then like any injury brings in, I don't know, one of these random rookies off the bench. we can have a problem.
Yeah,
Like
I
if
think
Jonas gets injured again, what the hell are Raptors doing?
Bebe Noguera, baby.
Oh man. Speaking of a guy that's not going to
Yeah.
break out and might get traded.
Oh my God.
Baby, why? You could have been so good. I was so thrilled when the Hawks randomly threw in Bebe into to shed Lou Williams' salary.
Yeah, well, at least Bebe's fun and fun to quote. I guess that's something.
Sure. Yeah, that is true. He's a fun-loving dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, Raptors
Yeah,
are
no,
deep, man.
injuries are always scary, man. Like if Lowry or Valanciunas get hurt, like that's I don't know. I'd be pretty worried, but other than those two guys, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's enough for this week's episode of the podcast. Um, Harsh, thanks for coming on, buddy. Thanks for always being available to talk with the Raptors in a pinch.
Anytime, man. It's there's not much to talk about, but it's always good to talk raps.
Yeah.
Good to get back in that mode.
I mean, look, the off season is there's oh my god, there's still another month until preseason. So, yeah. As for this podcast, rate us on iTunes or wherever else you can rate the podcast. Rate us well. But if you have bad things to say, maybe don't click the stars. Just leave a comment and say like, you know, this podcast is way too long. Will had a super terrible impression of Jackie Chan. I mean, I'll take offense to that really, but yeah. Listen, rate us on iTunes, support our Patreon as always. Mostly support Blake. That's mostly where that Patreon goes, but also to the rest of the writers at the site. Um, yeah, in terms of the podcast, we'll probably come out with Eastern Conference and Western Conference previews to burn some time, and then before you know it, it'll be preseason. We'll be freaking out whenever I don't know, Jonas or DeRozan or Lowry has a bad game. And then we'll realize that it doesn't really matter at all when the regular season comes around. So that's all around the corner. Thanks for sticking with us through the summer. And yeah, go Raptors, go. Thanks again, Harsh. I'll see you guys next week.